The dream of 2047 and the bitter reality. Will India really become a developed nation? Just imagine. The year 2047. 100 years of independence. Celebrations everywhere. The tricolour flying high, grand claims, and voices echoing from the stage. India is now a developed country. But in the middle of this celebration, if someone quietly asks you a question, has your life really changed? Your income, your children's opportunities, your job security, your future. Would the answer be that simple? This is where the real story begins. A story driven not by slogans, but by mathematics. And it is this very mathematics that former RBI Governor D. Subbarao has questioned. Questions that hold a mirror to the dream of 2047. India today appears to be moving ahead at a fast pace. Growth of over 7%, inflation under control, strong foreign currency reserves, and a rising strategic stature in the world. From the outside, everything looks impressive. But Subbarao says this is where the biggest illusion lies. According to him, assuming that we have permanently entered a phase of high and sustainable growth just by looking at a healthy macroeconomic picture can be dangerous complacency. There are reasons to be happy, but not to celebrate prematurely. The real challenge emerges when we translate the 2047 goal into numbers. Today, India's per capita income is around $2,700. To enter the league of developed countries, this needs to rise to about $21,000 to $22,000. That means nearly an eightfold jump. And not through 1 or 2 years of rapid growth, but through consistently very high growth over 20 to 25 years. Subbarao clearly states that this would require India to sustain annual economic growth of around 8% or more for a long period. And history shows that India has achieved this very rarely, and never for such a long duration. Pause for a moment and think about this. 8% growth does not sound extraordinarily high, especially since in recent years we have often talked about 7 to 8% growth. But the difference lies between 1 or 2 years and 2 decades. Maintaining high growth continuously does not happen through policies alone. It requires investment, productivity, jobs, skills, and institutions all moving together in sync. And this is where the math begins to raise uncomfortable questions for India. Subbarao's biggest focus is on the lack of private investment. Over the past few years, the government has spent heavily on infrastructure, roads, railways, ports, airports. This was necessary because the government wanted to create a strong foundation for the economy. But in any economy, sustained high growth comes only when the private sector invests aggressively, when factories are set up, new capacities are created, and risks are taken. Subbarao says that despite favorable macro conditions, private sector capex is still sluggish. And this is a warning sign. Why is investment not coming? This question is not as simple as it sounds. Somewhere there is uncertainty about demand, somewhere regulatory fear, somewhere a lack of long-term visibility. Companies are asking, if we make a big investment today, will policies remain stable for the next 10 to 15 years? Will we get a skilled workforce? Will we get stuck in legal disputes? Until these questions have credible answers, private investment will not move forward at full strength. The lack of investment has a direct impact on jobs. Here Subbarao's argument becomes even more serious. He says GDP is growing, but job creation and household incomes are not rising at the same pace. In other words, growth is becoming jobless. If the economy grows, but money does not reach the pockets of ordinary people, that growth cannot be sustainable. This is not just an economic risk, but a social one as well. Another bitter truth emerges here: productivity. Developed countries are those where one person creates more value in less time. India has a large population, but if the productivity of that population does not increase, numbers alone will not help. Subbarao points out that income inequality is also rising. Some sectors and some people are moving ahead very fast, while a large population remains stuck in the same place. Such growth creates imbalance in society. That is why Subbarao makes a very important point. A developed country is not defined only by income numbers. It is defined by how widely the benefits of growth are shared. If by 2047 India's average income rises, but a large part of the population is still trapped in insecurity, low income, and limited opportunities, can we truly call ourselves developed? In this entire picture, the role of the banking sector becomes extremely important because the banking system is the engine of investment. Subbarao clearly says that structural problems in public sector banks are still limiting credit efficiency. Even though the bad loan crisis is not as deep as before, issues related to governance, incentives, and culture remain unchanged. His argument is that simply changing laws or introducing new rules will not fix the banking system. The real question is, who gets the incentives? Who is accountable for decisions? As long as the government remains the dominant owner, political and administrative pressure will not fully disappear. Subbarao suggests that bringing public sector banks under the Companies Act, strengthening boards, or creating a credible roadmap for reducing government stake could be necessary steps. But all this requires political will. Banking reforms are also necessary because without an efficient credit system, private investment will not come. And without private investment, neither sufficient jobs will be created nor will productivity increase. This is a chain, and if one link is weak, the entire chain shakes. Now the question arises, will the dream of 2047 remain just a dream? Subbarao does not say that. He calls it difficult but not impossible. But his warning is clear. If we remain happy just by looking at macro stability, we will turn our eyes away from the real challenges. The real battle is at the micro level: jobs, skills, the investment environment, and the quality of institutions. The journey to 2047 is not just the government's journey. It is a shared journey of society, industry, and policymakers. If the private sector continues to fear taking risks, if the banking system hesitates to lend, if education and skills do not align with market needs, then 8% sustained growth will remain only in slides and speeches. Perhaps Subbarao's most important line is this: there is reason to be happy, but not to celebrate. This sentence itself is a warning, because history shows that when countries become obsessed with their own numbers, they lose the momentum for reform. And when the pace of reform slows, dreams also begin to fade. The dream of 2047 is still alive, but it will become reality only when we accept the bitter truths. When we acknowledge that mathematics does not change with emotions, and when we understand that a developed India is not just a date, but the result of daily decisions, reforms, and honest self-reflection. So the next time you hear the slogan, Developed India 2047, before clapping, ask one question. Are we ready for the fundamental changes without which this dream will remain just a poster? Because dreaming is easy, but defeating the math, that is the real challenge.
If has taught you something new, do not forget to like and share this video so that this information can reach others as well. Your likes and shares are a source of inspiration for us. If you have any questions or suggestions, please let us know in the comments. It will be our honor to answer your questions and listen to suggestions. And yes, if you like our content, subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon so that you stay connected with every new story. Thank you. GRT Business YouTube channel sources: news from various news agencies, opinion polls, and other public sources. We try to ensure that every report and summary is accurate and verified, but we are not responsible for any dispute or error. Our aim is only to provide you with accurate information.